Someone once said, "There's nothing new under the sun." I guess he was wise. And as I look around today in society, I can't help but be reminded of when I was growing up. I came from a very, very religious family, very strict, very Catholic, and very Italian. Needless to say, I was a child of the 60s. Anyone who knows history knows there was a lot going on back then.
Dr. Martin Luther King has been shot to death in Memphis,
the Americans
Tennessee.
are responding with the greatest concentration of firepower in history.
If you had known me before this lifestyle, you would say, if anyone should not be talking to us today, it should be her. My name is Michelle Iglesias, the Administrative Secretary for the Ministerial Department of the Carolina Conference. It was in 1969, and friends of mine decided that, we had to go to this big music festival that we had all heard about called Woodstock.
This is the largest group of people ever assembled in one place. The important thing that you've proven to the world is that 500,000 kids, 500,000 young people can get together and have 3 days of fun and music, and have nothing but fun and music, and I God bless you for it.
Now at that time I was only 17 years old. I remember telling my mom and dad that I was going to a friend's house for the night. Well, unfortunately, that night turned into 3 days. When I got home, I was in deep trouble. At that time, there was no way to call them. We didn't have cell phones. I did call when we got up there and let them know that we were landlocked. There was no way we were going to get home. When I did finally get a chance to call my parents, I went into the town and knocked on someone's door, and I had to tell them the truth. I had to tell them where I was. And when I got home, I was home for the rest of the summer. My upbringing, again, like I had mentioned, was very, very strict. And at one time, I remember, because church was a big thing for us, well, we went to Catholic school, but I wanted to actually enter the convent and become a nun. Well, that didn't last very long. As I went into my young adulthood, things changed, my lifestyle changed. I started drinking, I started doing drugs, I started hanging around with the wrong people, and my life just took a different path. I got married at a very young age. That marriage didn't work out. So I had some years as a single, as a young single adult, and again, the partying just continued, probably right up until my 30s. When I was 30 years old, I met another man, and we got married, and we had, 2 kids, and that didn't end up well either. After just a couple of years, we ended up getting divorced. So now here I am, a single mom, struggling to make ends meet. I did have support of my family, but that was all I had. And I thought at that time that, well, I don't need anybody. All I really need is myself. I carried on like that for quite a while. I landed myself a job. I got my kids in school. I just floated along. And then around 1990, I had an opportunity to move here to Charlotte, North Carolina. My kids were young, they were about 8 and 9, and I knew that I was missing something in my life. I just felt it, I knew it. I did not want to go back to the Catholic Church where I was raised. So I started searching. I went to Methodist church, I went to Baptist church. I searched everywhere for years. Well, one day at the job that I had before this job, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to do some Bible studies. And, just to appease her because she kept bugging me, and I mean really bugging me, I finally said okay. Let me back up a minute, because what I want to say before the Bible study was, when I couldn't find a church that I really wanted to go to, I somehow got connected with the free book of the month from the Billy Graham Library. And that really ignited something in me, a real searching and seeking for God. I think that's what got me, really wanting to learn more about God. And at that time, I was still drinking, I was smoking, I was using profanity, I had teenage boys that were very hard to handle, and I was still a single mom. So I thought, well, what have I got to lose? So I accepted the Bible studies, and I'll never forget how it hit me when the message about the Sabbath was presented. I thought, oh, okay, so these guys go to church on Saturday. I thought, that's what this is all about. They're some kind of cult, and I really, really felt like this was a cult. I remember going home, and I had gotten remarried, and I remember telling my husband, I said, I don't know about this Saturday thing, And I said, but look, it says right here in the Bible, remember the Sabbath, and, I do know that the Sabbath is a Saturday. So as much as I tried to not believe that this was the truth, I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit just was convicting me in a way I had never been convicted before. I had always read the Bible as a child, but I never really read the commandment from the Bible about the Sabbath. I had only read it from a Catholic school catechism, which just said, remember the Lord's Day to keep it holy. And it didn't take too long after that I was baptized and was a member of the church. Sometimes it takes a long time for the Lord to find us, but He always, always does. Someone once said, there's nothing new under the sun. And as I look around today in society, I can't help but be reminded of when I was growing up. I came from a very, very religious family. Needless to say, I was a child of the 60s. But maybe I was looking for something all along, something that went against the culture or the norms of society. Something that didn't flinch from standing for something. So I guess I would have to say that the freedom that I felt, the sense of love that surrounded us, that was very important to me as a young teenager. And I think the Holy Spirit was working on that part of me that really connects. And I felt the same way the first time that I went to an Adventist church. And I think that was why I really was drawn to it. But for me, it wasn't so much about joining a religion. It was more about being part of a movement.